Right, my first video on this channel is going to be score predictions for the National League game week 1. So, please hit that sub button. Please like this video. Much appreciated either way. First up, Fylde v Solihull. Fylde finished 18th last season, where Solihull finished 5th, if I'm not mistaken. But both teams, well, Fylde ended up beating Oldham. I'm an Oldham fan, as you can see. So, twice they beat us, and they looked really good in those games, but over the course of the season they didn't do that well because they finished 18th. Solihull ended up getting playoffs and only just lost in the final. So, unlucky for them really. But, to the score, I reckon it'll be Fylde 1, Solihull Moors 2. I just have a feeling this game's going to be like close until like the 70th minute, and Solihull are just going to score and then defend. Next up is Aldershot versus Forest Green Rovers. Aldershot finished 8th last season. It was really good. Fans, playing ability, and really unlucky to not get playoffs. Forest Green finished bottom of League 2. They must have had a really poor season. I didn't really watch League 2 last season, so it is what it is. But to the score, I reckon it'll be Aldershot 1, Forest Green 1, because Aldershot have made some great signings, and I don't think Forest Green are just going to come down and control it, to be honest. I think it'll be a neck-to-neck game, and yeah, finish 1-1. Next up is Altrincham versus Woking. I reckon this is going to be a really close game, even though Altrincham finished 4th last season and Woking finished 17th. I just reckon Woking will give them a really good game on the opening day of the season. So I reckon this score will be Altrincham 3, Woking 2. Altrincham only just taking it, but we'll see. However, because it was between 2-2 and 3-2, I just reckon Altrincham will score in like the 80th minute and then just control it from there. So don't give Woking a chance to equalise. So can't wait to see that game, to be honest. Next up is Boston versus Rochdale. This is not me literally, Boston's only just been promoted. Rochdale finished 11th last season. Obviously there's going to be bias there because I'm an Oldham fan and we don't like Rochdale. But that's besides the point. I try to be as fair as possible for every team on here. But I can see Rochdale really struggling in this game because they're not going to be used to the football. So I've gone Boston 1, Rochdale 1. But it was between 1-1 or Rochdale to take it on a 2-1 win. I just reckon it'll be a hard game for Rochdale to win this. Don't know why, I just feel like Boston are just going to show up and try and shock someone. And hopefully they do so. Next up is Dagenham and Redbridge versus Wealdstone. Both neck and neck in the table really. Dagenham Red finished 15th, Wealdstone finished 16th. So it's going to be a really close game in my opinion. I'm not going off any signings, I'm just going off what I believe the score will be. I've not really looked at any team, I'm just looking forward to the next season, to be honest. But I have put this as Dagenham and Redbridge 0, Wealdstone 2. I just reckon Wealdstone will bring something else down to Dagenham and Redbridge and batter them really and get the 2-0 win. Next up is Halifax versus Barnet. Probably one of the closest games that's going to be in the National League tomorrow. Halifax finished 7th, got playoffs on the final day, if I'm not mistaken. And Barnet come second. Really unlucky that it's not a free promotion league, because I believe they would have been a good thingy in League 2, but that's the National League. One gets promoted, one goes up by playoffs. You can't always do it. Halifax, back at the Shea Stadium after playing at Huddersfield and Chesterfield because their pitch was destroyed pretty much. But I've put this score as Halifax 1, Barnet 2. I reckon there'll be a last minute winner for Barnet, and it's going to cost Halifax massively because it'll put them in the bottom half of the table, which is not really serious at this stage of the season, but I still reckon Barnet take it. Next up, we've got Gateshead versus Ebbsfleet. Gateshead got kicked out of the playoffs last season, which was, I think, was wrong because it messed up obviously messed up the playoffs, and no one else got playoffs because of it. But that's Gateshead Council for you. Not going to go into further thingy because that's who stopped Gateshead going into the playoffs. Gateshead finished 6th, Ebbsfleet finished 19th last season. Ebbsfleet had a really poor season, but they only just come up, so survival was great for them. But I think it'll be Gateshead 3, Ebbsfleet 0. I just reckon Gateshead absolutely go out and batter them to try and show the point that they're good enough to go up, so they're able to thingy, because I reckon they'll finish high again this season. But who knows, are they going to get in the playoffs and be allowed, or they're not? Next up is Maidenhead versus Eastleigh. Maidenhead finished 14th, Eastleigh finished 13th. Both teams solid in the middle of the table, and it's going to be a really, really close game. I think it'll be a back and forth game, and I put this as Maidenhead 2, Eastleigh 2. So who knows? Might get a bit of a shock here, but I believe it'll be a really, really tight game. Then we've got my team, Oldham Athletic versus Braintree. We finished 10th last season, even though we had a really good start when Mellon took over. But the last 13 games, we was unable to find a victory, drawing to teams who got relegated, such as Kidderminster and Oxford, which were really disappointing, and we even drew to York, who finished 20th. Nothing against York, just we should be beating teams like that. But I put this as Oldham 3, Braintree 1. I think when Braintree come to Boundary Park, I think it'll just be a demolition job for Oldham, and Braintree will get a consolation goal in the 70th minute or something like that. Then we're moving on to Southend versus York. Both really good fan bases. See if they get behind the team. Wonder how many Southend are going to bring up to York on the first game of the season. But I've put this game as Southend 2, York 1. Because I reckon Southend actually become champions of the National League this season because of their tremendous climb up the table last season after the 10-point deduction. I think they were just too strong for the National League, and I reckon they'll be a good force in the League too. Next up is Tamworth versus Sutton. Sutton obviously coming down, Tamworth going up. I just reckon Sutton are going to be way too much for Tamworth, and it's going to be a welcoming for Tamworth into the National League. I reckon this score will be Tamworth 1, Sutton 4. I just reckon Sutton are going to absolutely demolish them. I reckon Sutton will go 3-0 up, Tamworth get 1 back, but then Sutton score again to make it 4-1. I just reckon it'll be way too strong for Tamworth. And Tamworth are one of the teams I've said to go down this season. I just don't think they're good enough for the National League. That's just my opinion. Then we're moving on to Yeovil versus Hartlepool. Yeovil obviously coming up from the National League South, being a strong team in general. Yeovil should not be in the position where they are, but neither should Hartlepool. Hartlepool got great fan bases, love them coming to us, and I can't wait to go there next season. But I'll put this as Yeovil 0, Hartlepool 1. I just reckon Hartlepool will welcome to the National League with a loss, pretty much. But I think it's going to be a really close game until like the midpoint, and then Hartlepool take control and win. But overall, I reckon it'll be a good season, very competitive season. The people who are going up, in my opinion, are Southend and Oldham. Oldham are going to go up via the playoffs. Well, this is my hope anyway. And then Southend are going to become champions. Because Oldham we've made some quality signings. I reckon League 2 worthy now. But we see how Mellon does his tactics. But I have faith in Mellon. I always. Towards the end of the season, I didn't. But I've said give him 10 games. If he doesn't do well, then maybe question him. But overall, I reckon we'll have a good season. Hopefully starting off with a win against Braintree, but who knows, it's football, anything could happen. But can't wait to go. Got my season ticket at hand for tomorrow. Really can't wait to go. Going to most away games unless plans changed, because I've said to myself that I'm going to every game this season, but plans might change. I might get opportunities that I didn't expect to get, but it is what it is. Going, hopefully bringing 8.8k to Boundary Park tomorrow. Get a good crowd going. Hopefully start with a win to bring more people across. I'm going Wheelstone for away game of the season, so that should be quality. But yeah, I will be doing a matchday vlog tomorrow about the game and how I felt before entering the ground and then after, and the overall performance in my opinion. Players who stood out, players who didn't stand out, how we played overall, the fans and all this. But I've just had to make this video because I don't want to start on a matchday vlog. But if this goes well, I'll do it for next week game predictions. But yeah, make sure to subscribe and like if you want to see matchday vlogs about Oldham games, especially because that's the games I'll be going to. If I go to any more, I'll be sure to put them on my channel, because obviously I do Chadderton FC Media and I also love going to games. So make sure to hit that like button, make sure to subscribe, and thank you for watching.